Hey guys, welcome back to yet another edition of the Teed Up podcast. I'm your host, as always, Aaron Quinn, and tonight I actually got some special guests, some new contributors to Teed Up podcast. We got Jason Shannon and Josh D. I'm going to rip up your name, Josh. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself first, Josh? How you doing?
Good. My name is Josh Dietabenesis. If anyone ever sees my name anywhere, just don't even try to say it. It's gonna be tough. I was just telling the guys before, I'm a Knicks fan. So yeah, I'm just like Aaron, just a normal guy talking about basketball. I think I know more than I do probably, and yeah, and if I say anything outrageous about the Knicks, just take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, and so I reached out for help because it's hard to do the podcast by yourself all the time, get talking, and I was having trouble. Some of the guests were falling through. So I know Chad, Josh's brother, and he was like, dude, my brother absolutely loves basketball. He's watching every game. He's talking about it. I said, dude, bring him on, man. That's all I am, is just a regular dude. So I appreciating that you came on and joining us. And then we also have Jason Shannon. Jason, how you doing tonight, man?
I am great. How are you? I'm sorry that everybody watching on YouTube around the country can't see my face right now, but we're having a few video issues.
He is a handsome guy. I'll let everybody know in on the secret.
I'm way better than that picture they gave me. I didn't give me that picture.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm also a Knicks fan, which means I end up watching a lot of other teams around the league in the second half of the season. Also, the league pass. Unfortunately, the New York market extends to Buffalo for some reason, so League Pass doesn't end up showing it, which I figured out in college that I bought the entire $280 package and didn't get Knicks games. But I ended up re-upping it just about every other year, and so I ended up watching a lot of other teams around the league. But
yeah, I noticed that too because there's a few times where I wanted to watch a Knicks game, but it's because I think we get the MSG network on our cable providers up here. We don't get it. And my wife will take over the TV at night watching whatever housewife show, and I'm stuck there like, I want to watch the Cleveland Knicks game. Like, come on.
Right. Yeah. And it took me about four years to realize we don't get the Nets either. But
yes, the Yes networks here too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough because I'm a Bulls fan and our teams play quite a bit throughout the year. And so I currently my league pass has lapsed. I'm probably going to re-up it here this weekend. And but every once in a while I'll forget, I'll load it up on my computer and forget, I'll see like Knicks Bulls. I go to watch it and no, not going to happen tonight. So it is a bummer the League Pass does it, but hey, this year's a great year to have League Pass because there is so many good games, so many good teams, so much interesting stuff going on around the league. And kind of with that said, I want to jump right into our topics tonight. So an episode that I have previously wanted to do is kind of talk about the first month of the NBA. We're past the first month now. So now that I had the guys on, I figured this was a good opportunity because I didn't just want to tell you all my thoughts on the first month. I wanted to kind of have some banter, a little bit back and forth, and hear, other people that are watching the league as a whole and tell me what their thoughts are. So we're going to run down kind of the first month and a half of the league awards for this year. And it's going to be just a lot like the end of the year awards. So we're going to go right through those tonight. I'm going to start off here with best team. So far, first month and a half of the season. Thought about a couple options. I was kind of hemming and hawing over the Rockets and the Celtics in the end. And I'm going with the Celtics, man. After the Hayward injury, I thought that for sure that they were going to slip a couple spots in the East, but they actually did the opposite and went on a huge run and just really established themselves, with about a 1.5, 2-game lead on everyone in the NBA right now. Josh, what do you got for your best team?
I mean, the obvious three, so far have been the Warriors, Rockets, Celtics. Warriors haven't even looked great, but, you just know, there's so many times this year, I have somebody I follow on Twitter, and he calls it, the Warriors, bathroom break thing where you go to the bathroom with the Warriors up by 20, and by the time you come back, they're up by 4.
Absolutely.
And that just, to me, is, incredible. It just shows how, great of a team they are. I mean, the Cavs over the past 13 games have looked great, but still I wouldn't say they've been, the best team. They still play a lot of close games.
Sure.
I'm got to say right now the Rockets have been my favorite team so far.
Yeah.
And with Chris Paul back, I don't know how it's even possible. The second and third in the league in assists right now, I believe, are Harden and Chris Paul.
It's crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's possible. They're almost both at 10 assists a game. That's incredible.
And obviously, I have the Celtics here, but they play in a much harder conference. So, to have the record they have in a harder conference and probably not the best roster in the conference. It's pretty impressive, like you said. Jason, what are you thinking, man? What's your best team so far this year? Or, in this first month and a half?
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to tack on with the Rockets on this one. Obviously, the Celtics have been impressive, too, the way that they defend and the way that they consistently play above their talent. Kyrie has just shown out without LeBron. But if you look at the Rockets right now, you've played pretty much the whole season without Chris Paul. You have James Harden handling almost all of the offensive duty other than Eric Gordon, who has been really good too and actually does a really good job of just playing D'Antoni ball to a T where he spaces out offenses like incredibly. And then on the other side, what the surprising thing is, if you look at points per 100 possessions, the Rockets are fifth in defense too. And you have some guys that you would expect to defend, Clint Capella. They got PJ Tucker. Trevor Ariza has always been a good guy on the wing. So you think that might be a decent defense, but you would just assume at the pace that they play at and the way that they gun and the way that, we have a team in the NBA right now averaging over 43s a game.
Right.
You would think that there's some defensive lapses there, especially because that guy that I was just praising, James Harden, is the most indifferent, ignorant to defense player in the league still. And the fact that they still, gather around him and put together a fifth place defense is just incredible. So
it really is.
I have to go with them.
Yeah, and D'Antoni hasn't had the best defenses in the league and throughout his career in the NBA. So it's impressive to see him. Not that he's changing, right? Because he's still playing a real fast-paced game, but that team's playing a little bit different, a little bit more heart than some of his previous teams that he was on. I mean, he hadn't had success since the Suns, so I'm happy for him there. And I can't really argue with either of you guys. I was really on the Rockets a little bit. I've been hot on the Rockets since the start. Last year, I thought they were one of the best teams in the league and weren't getting enough credit last year. I thought James Harden should have been the MVP last year. And, now you're seeing a little bit that, that's success wasn't a 1-year thing. It was a sustained success here in the first month and a half. So you're not going to get any disagreement from me.
If I can add, Daryl Morey, their GM, has done such a great job. I mean, to get the perfect players to go in D'Antoni's system, I can't believe that they're playing defense in a D'Antoni system. That's insane to me. I actually didn't know that. So you brought that stat up, and that's pretty impressive. I wouldn't even bother because you look at their scores and they have 125 points. I don't even look at the other team. I just see they're getting blown out. That's impressive. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's so. Pigtailing off best team, I think those are two good teams, and that would make a great. If we could get there, that could make a really nice finals. I would think. I don't. Everyone's expecting Warriors, Cavs, but that would be a fun one too. But who would be your guys' most surprising team? If we want to start with Jason, what are you getting for the most surprising team so far this year?
I had no idea that Detroit would be anywhere near where they are right now. And a good job with Stan Van. But I think the thing that impresses me the most is that they gave Andre Drummond that contract last year, and that looked like it was going to be pretty, pretty bad. Mm-hmm. And he's gotten him to play in a different way, and he's used him in a different way. If you watch the Pistons, I mean, the last 3 or 4 years, they were one of the most unwatchable teams just in terms of play style, in terms of talent, where you're like, oh, yeah, I'm really excited to watch Reggie Jackson play ISO ball. But, this year, instead of, giving Andre Drummond 8 post-ups a game, they give him the ball at the top of the key. Oh, yeah. They let him work pick and roll. They let him do, sort of, alley-oop stuff, driving to the basket. A lot of the ways that, Boogie Cousins gets used, still doesn't shoot or chuck like Boogie does, and doesn't have the offensive talent, but they give him the ball a lot higher up and let him control it a little more, and he's responded really well with it. And then you'd be remiss to not mention the fact that he's hitting a couple of free throws this year. At one point, he was at 76%. I'm not exactly sure where he is right now, but I know that he's really shortened his motion and all of the BS he does before the free throw, and it's really helped him a lot.
Yeah, he's been I don't know where this free throw thing came from, but it's awesome because now you can play him at the end of games because now you can't just run the hack of Drummond, and you can have a good team. And going off what you were saying about how they use him, It kind of reminds me how the Bulls used to use Joakim Noah. They just throw him at the top, and he was a good enough passer where he could move the ball around and everything, and he wasn't clogging up the middle.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Yeah, and those are all great points too. Josh, what do you have? Are you on with him with the Pistons? What are you thinking?
I mean, yeah, the Pistons were definitely like very surprising, probably the most surprising. But to throw another team in there, the Indiana Pacers. Like I can't explain what Victor Oladipo is doing. Like I've always been a fan of Oladipo. I thought he was the best from his class. Obviously, that's Giannis, but like yeah, he's I don't know. I think Sabonis has come out of nowhere. They just play good basketball. It's like Oladipo just jumped into Paul George's role. Like he's literally putting up close to the same numbers as George, like
Right.
as he did like last year. Like that's incredible.
Yeah, it's weird that might not be like the worst trade ever now because both of those guys are playing well.
Yeah, if Sabonis and Oladipo end up being like 2 of your focus points, and then you throw in some draft picks along the way, like be a good team. I don't know how they do it in Indiana. They're always in the playoff look.
Yeah, and George was leaving anyway, right? So what a great trade if this young talent continues to work out. And honestly, that was a team I was considering for this. They definitely have surprised me because I had them down there, the next layer up from like the Bulls and Hawks at the beginning of the season. I was like, there's no way this team's going to be in the playoffs looking at them on paper. And when you watch them play on League Pass, man, they're feisty on defense. They're moving the ball on offense. They're very sound offensively. Every once in a while, Oladipo would chuck something up, but he's hitting them, so who cares?
Yeah, he's your scorer.
Right. Yeah. So that's a great one. I also did go with the Pistons as my most surprising team, just because I had them even under the Pacers when I looked at that roster on paper, just because of Drummond's recent history. I'm a big UConn fan, so I thought Drummond was going to do a lot better than he had early in his career. And it looked like it was, it started all right and was kind of going downhill, but he's picked it back up with Stan Van. I like what they're doing with him. And I do like the move to get Avery Bradley. I'm big Avery Bradley fan. I thought he was not appreciated by Celtics fans and not appreciated by that team. I thought he was the best two-way player, the best all-around player on that team a year ago. Just couldn't stay healthy. And he's bringing a defensive intensity to the Pistons that they haven't had since the Chauncey Billups days.
Was that trade just to clear cap space to get Gordon Hayward? Was that all it was?
I'm not.
Yeah,
I think that's all they were doing. Yeah, and he wasn't going to resign. He was looking for big money.
That's good for the Pistons, man. That's a steal.
Yeah, he's a great player, and nobody ever talks about him. I feel like when you're online looking around, nobody's ever talking about Avery Bradley. I absolutely love the guy's game, and he's developed a nice 3-point shot too, which he didn't have early in his career. So 2 out of 3 here have the Pistons as the most surprising team, and then we had the Indiana Pacers. So 2 teams from the East who it looks like, right now, if they both keep pace, are going to be playoff consideration teams, which is going to shake something up because that's 2 teams that I don't think anyone had in the playoffs at the beginning of the year. So somebody's going to be, on the outside looking in from their place. Now, kind of the opposite of that, going into the season, I'm sure you guys all had expectations. I always jump on a young team and I'm like, this is their year or whatever it is. Who, for you guys, we'll start with Josh here, has been the most disappointing team?
Well, obviously the Thunder have been really disappointing so far, but I don't know. This is kind of what we thought would be a possibility, where these 3 ball first players it would be cause a problem. I think they're going to be fine, and they're going to end up winning around 45, 46 games. So if I have to go with the most disappointing team, just because it's become a total train wreck, is the Grizzlies. I don't know what happened. A team that makes the playoffs every year consistently, you're like, how do they get in? And it just blew up. Especially with
they started the year pretty strong too. They went toe to toe with the Rockets in a fun overtime game. They were playing, they had a tough opening schedule and they were playing teams tough. They weren't winning all the games, but you saw a lot of grit. A lot of people use that to talk about the Grizzlies, and you saw it.
They started 7-3, yeah. I don't know what happened.
And I still don't know what happened with Fizdale. Does anybody have
my theory to it is Marc Gasol was obviously really upset about the benching thing, and when you start losing games, everything goes bad.
Right.
But the Grizzlies like really value like those players. Like they already said they're gonna retire like Tony Allen's number, and like he never really did anything special. But it's just like that they love their players, and Marc Gasol's been their guy for a decade now. And
Right.
to have him like say that he was like really upset about that, I think they may have been trying to show they're defending their players. But I don't know, man. That was I don't know.
It's a shame because he's a good coach. And the second it happened, I got on Twitter and was telling all my fellow Bulls fans, I was like, dude, they should fire Hoiberg and hire
God, yes.
immediately. Like, they should already have him on the phone, but he'll find work again somewhere. He's a good coach. So
I think you can wait till the offseason. I don't think anyone's going to move on him right now.
No,
so
he'll be fine. Although I wouldn't mind seeing the Bucks make a move on him either. But Jason, what are your thoughts here? Most disappointing team so far this year?
It was mentioned Oklahoma City needs to figure it out on offense, and I'm really disappointed as a person who defended Carmelo for a while. Obviously at the end of it, you kind of realized that needed to end. And as somebody who thought Russell Westbrook was the MVP last year and wasn't thinking that Harden or LeBron or whoever was there, I thought he deserved it. But now, the more guys that you see play with him, you just wonder who is the guy getting better with Russell Westbrook is the point guard. Oladipo and Sabonis leave, they're instantly better. Yeah. Paul George is putting up his stats, but it's sort of they're all sharing the ball. It's just tough. You just watch it in the last 2 minutes and you see those guys spotted up ready for the ball, and it's just Westbrook ball. And it's not all bad because right now their point differential is really good. They're actually second in defense right now, which I'm a little shocked by with those guys. But at the same time, they have Roberson on the floor all the time, who's
Paul George,
basically like a -50 offense. And I'm just making up arbitrary numbers. Adams, who is an offensive boards beast and does a great job on defense, and then obviously Paul George is a good two-way player. So I wouldn't have expected, second, but that's good. But the offense right now and just the way that they're stalling, the way they're taking turns, you want to hope that that's going to fix itself, after 25 games. So I'm going to give them a little bit of a reprieve, but it's not looking that great right now. And that, if things don't ship up, they're going to be a 7 or 8 seed and they're going to lose to a good team.
Yeah, what I've noticed actually about like that team, when Steven Adams gets involved with the offense and they run pick and rolls with him, they play so much better. I think it just opens everything up because Westbrook should be running pick and roll at all time. Like, because if you don't take him and you leave your guard on the big man, then he's going to blow right by you. So you got to like stay on him, and then that opens up because you're bringing guys from George, you're bringing guys from Anthony. And when those guys get open, then you can start to score.
And if you had to pick a top 2 guy that I didn't want to go through on a pick, it would probably be Steven Adams.
Yeah, that's crazy looking.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree there with Oklahoma City either. Definitely a disappointment. I expected some of it, though, right? You saw when Miami got their big 3 together. When those big 3s come together, it does take a little while to gel.
The Cavs again this year?
Sure, yeah. And I was a little bit on the opposite. You were saying how you defended Melo for years. I had kind of had the opposite relationship with Westbrook here the past few years. Is people have been telling me just, he deserves to be MVP. He's super great. I'm not taking anything away. I do think he's a good player, but there was something about his game that I feel like, maybe he's just a little bit of a stat patter. Maybe he's not really a team guy. Maybe he's not a guy that can really put a team on his back and push him into that top 3 consideration in the West. And I think now he's got all the pieces there to do it, and it's not happening. A lot of basketball left, so we'll see. But
their bench is atrocious.
Yeah. For sure, yeah, but I mean, with that starting lineup, you should be able to be, middle right now, the West. So I don't disagree with any of those, either what you guys said. But I'm going for my most disappointing team so far is the Bucks. I was debating between the Bucks and the Clippers, and the Bucks are disappointing me, man, because I thought for sure, especially after the slow start from Cleveland, that they were going to be able to slip into that top 3 in the East, and right now they're kind of hovering in that late playoff out of the, every other day they're, an 8 seed or whatever. I'm not really sure what's going on. They have all the talent, they have the length, they have the youth. They could use maybe a veteran presence, somebody to kind of keep them focused when things are going out of control. I think Jason Kidd's a really bad coach. I can't believe he's not
still the GM.
No, his buddies, like, I don't know who's the GM. I honestly, but I think he's got to go. I can't believe he's not already in consideration to be fired because of the amount of talent they have. You got a guy that's considered by a lot of people to be, right there in the MVP hunt. I don't think you can be MVP and your team be performing so average, and especially in the Eastern Conference. I mean,
you gotta top 3.
They're 5-7 in the East this year.
Oh,
yeah, that's better with Bledsoe. I think they've been like 6-3, and maybe things will turn around. But yeah, I have no idea what's up with them.
Yeah, I don't like it because I like that team a lot. That's a team that I really was super excited about this year, and it's just not going the way that I thought it would. And a lot of those teams in the East I thought would, jump at the opportunity when the Cavs were slacking there for a little bit to try to get into that position, and no one grabbed it. It seemed like the Pistons were up there for a little bit, but they've hit a little bit of a wall a little bit of a slump. So kind of disappointing in a lot of those teams in the East, but the Bucks are really my most disappointing team.
And just to add on, they are missing Jabari, which is a big piece. Hopefully he comes back. I mean, it's like his third ACL injury at this point.
Yeah.
Who knows? But hopefully he comes back fine. He seems to not be affected by it when he plays.
He's not a super athletic guy, so it's not going to affect his. He's not going to jam over.
Yeah.
Right. One interesting thing though, when Jason was kind of bringing up Melo, who would have thought that Carmelo Anthony and James Harden would be starting on 2 of the top 5 defenses in the NBA? Can anybody see that coming?
With Westbrook on the Thunder too, like he doesn't play defense.
Yeah.
That's a lot of planning ahead by the GMs and putting some guys around them.
Robertson,
and hiding them defensively by the coaches.
They know Carmelo's just trying to get his defensive rebounds.
Right.
Oh, wait, what does Robertson work on like in the offseason? Like, I get you can cover guys, but like he can barely like hit a free throw, man. I mean, what does he do?
Chases cars.
Yeah, covers cars.
Defends deer out in the woods. All right, so enough talk about his overall teams. Let's get into some individual player stuff here. The first award, the biggest award that everybody would want to talk about is the MVP. I'll start off with this one here. So far, to me, the MVP, and I'm not hearing enough about it. You're starting to hear a little more about it. He's not putting up the statistics that you would, expect maybe from an MVP candidate. At the beginning of the year, I said it was going to be Harden, but right now, I got Kyrie as the MVP for me personally because best team in basketball. They lose a star player. Kyrie's balling out. He's putting people on skates every night, and he stepped up on defense. Kyrie Irving can play defense, and if I would have known that 3 years ago, I would have been talking about him as MVP then. So that's my guy. Josh, who do you got? Who's your MVP?
And for the same reason that you said Kyrie, I have him. I actually have like a little list if you don't mind me going through like this.
Sure.
I got a list of honorable mentions I'll go through first. KD and Curry he's leading the league in blocks, which is crazy to me. For the record, I hate KD just for the whole like leaving thing, whatever. But I respect like how great of a player he is and everything. And those two are just so good. But because they're on that team with the loaded talent, they'll have to share their stats and they'll never get it. Yeah. And I have Westbrook there right now because of his numbers. The team isn't there. I just have him there with the numbers. And my last honorable mentions, Damian Lillard. He's had just a great year, and they stay just competitive in that tough West. To mention him there, I mean, he's averaging around 26 points a game, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, which is, if you look compared to Curry stats, like they are neck and neck, the same exact stats. Like it's impressive.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And so going through this list, like my top 4 are Kyrie, Giannis, LeBron, and Harden. Obviously, those are the top 4 front runners.
Yeah.
And I'm still debating in my head. I couldn't come up with it. I want to say Harden so bad because he's playing so well. They have one of the best. I think the best record in the West at least. And these numbers are ridiculous. First in scoring, third in assists, 12th in steals, shooting 45% and 40% from 3. But man, like it's tough to overlook what LeBron's doing right now. He's third in scoring, averaging 7.9 rebounds, fifth in assists, 1.3 steals, 1.1 blocks, shooting 58% from the field, and his 3-point shooting is at 42%. That's ahead of Durant and Curry. I don't know where that came from. That's like incredible. So I hate to do it because I don't want to see Harden come in a runner up for a third straight time. And I think maybe LeBron will slow down a little bit when Isaiah comes back and he'll be able to share the ball. But for right now, I think I'm going to lean towards LeBron. He's out of this world right now.
Yeah, and he looks like he's enjoying playing too. Which is, I'm not a huge LeBron fan. I've never been, but I do respect the man. And right now, it looks like he's having a good time playing basketball. And he's got a nice roster, a complimentary roster to go with him.
Where last year, he did not look like he was having fun whatsoever. He heard everything about the locker room having problems, and yeah, I could definitely tell he looks. I mean, I don't know what it is this year. Usually he'd pass up those late shots. This year he's stepping right into it, every time, it's awesome to see.
Absolutely. And Jason, what do you got? Who's your MVP, man?
I really have it between two guys. I think there's two clear guys, and it's Harden and LeBron. Harden, statistically, is just a monster. His team's the best in the West. I am not the biggest Harden fan. I love watching him play offense, but I think that his indifference on defense is contagious. Fortunately for him this year, it apparently hasn't been because they're defending pretty well, and I think that they have the pieces around him to, a very well-built team, especially with Chris Paul back. On the other end, there's LeBron, who is doing his LeBron thing and is first in his position at usage, assist percentage, points per shot attempt, pretty much everything you could ask for a guy. And his team looks sluggish on some nights, but then you have to remember that some of this is LeBron the GM doing this, but he has some anchors just that he's just carrying around. Dwayne Wade's there. J.R. Smith is still a shooter that can't shoot. Kyle Korver turns it on. I saw him play really well the other night. Jeff Green's on that team. Yeah. Jeff Green's on that team. We have the Derrick Rose thing. Tristan Thompson's barely played this year, but that was also LeBron's fault because they have the same agent.
Yeah.
So he's really doing his LeBron thing and carrying him the whole year. So if I have to pick between the two, I will say that if Harden is at his current levels where he's basically scoring all of the points and making all of the passes and has the best team in the West, I will put him as the MVP. If it's any lower than that, I'm going to knock his defense and probably give it to LeBron, who I think is probably the best overall player in the league. But most valuable right now, best player on the best team in the West, I got to give it to Harden.
Yeah, and honestly, I do think Harden, if he continues to play around the level of play, I think, every once in a while you'll see a year where they give it to a guy who deserved it previously, right? Yeah. And you might see Harden get that this year, even if LeBron continues the ball out the way he is. You might see them do a makeup year here for Harden because you'd hate to see him lose close ones 3 years in a row.
Yeah, this would be his third or fourth runner-up here. That'd be just...
Yeah, you got to give him the one at some point, especially if he continues to
run out of gas eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jason, we'll start with you on this one too, since you were just on the mic here. Who is your most surprising player so far this year?
Well, for surprising player, I am going to include a guy that I just want to talk about because he is no longer a rookie, even though he is roughly 50 games into his basketball playing life. Joel Embiid is the best defensive player in the league. He's healthy. His offensive's great. Every single night, it looks like he learns a new move or something. He's by far my favorite player to watch, and I don't really like watching bigs, but just watching him play against – the other night, he played against Tyson Chandler, and to see him just piss off an 18-year vet, just make him go furious. He beats him on one play, then he starts talking to him on the next. He loses his cool and gets a tech. Embiid's just laughing the whole time. Next plays an alley-oop, next plays a block. Everybody knew that he had the talent, but if he stays healthy, he's the first guy in a while since probably Durant where I said, this guy could really be the best player in the league once LeBron's done. And I don't say that about many guys. I don't even know if I would say that about Harden or Curry, but just the level of talent that he possesses is just incredible, and he makes the NBA more fun to watch.
Totally. He's definitely bringing a level of fun to the NBA, and I just hope, like you said, that he can stay healthy because I think it's good for the league. I think it'll be good for the league if the Sixers are finally, really turning around and are a good team. So that's a good pick for surprising player. Josh, who do you got?
Just to go back to what he was saying, I'm a big fan in basketball. Like I just love basketball because it's fun. So I always love like all the players that are fun. Like Lance Stevenson, I love. Like J.R. Smith, I love, and Joel Embiid, I love. Like they just go out there and have fun, and that's just so like awesome for me to watch. And like just watching him play is awesome. But when we're talking about most surprising, are we talking like most improved, or can I throw a rookie in here?
Oh yeah, it could be whoever you want. We have most improved coming up later, so it's whoever really surprised you this year that took off.
I knew that Ben Simmons was going to be really good. Like I've been on his camp for a long time, but I didn't expect this. Like these are LeBron rookie numbers that like we're seeing. Like it's like he's at 18 points a game. I think 9.1 rebounds and then 7.4 assists or something like that. Like that's insane for a rookie.
Absolutely, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So both guys going with 76ers players here. The most surprising.
Think about two young guys.
Yeah, they're a super fun team to watch. So I don't, disagree there at all. I'm gonna go with also a rookie, an actual rookie here. I'm going with my most surprising player, who I knew was going to be good, but I didn't think it was going to be this good. Is Jason Tatum. I've had a ton of fun watching him, and after Hayward's injury, he really has stepped up as that other option for the Celtics. Brown has definitely stepped up, and I'll get into some more of him a little bit later. But Jason Tatum is possibly, I know Simmons wasn't in this actual draft class, even though now we're considering him a rookie because of the injury. But I think Tatum was the best player out of this draft class. And the two teams that passed on him are looking a little bit silly right now because he's going to be a really good player in the NBA, and he's NBA ready first game out there. So for me, it's Tatum. Dude, what is he? He's leading the league in 3-point percentage or something as a rookie.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's huge, and he's playing good defense. I mean, just wait till Hayward comes back to this team next year, and they got Jaylen Brown and Tatum. I mean, that's going to be huge.
He's got a lot of pressure too. He's not like one of these rookies that are playing in like games that don't matter and putting up these numbers. Like he's right in the middle of the system team that's the first in the NBA right now, and he's stepping up. Like he has no fear.
Yeah, big games against the Cavs and these top teams in the league. He had a big game with against the Warriors. So
games,
right, hitting big shots. So the guy's totally, I expected him to play well, but I didn't expect him to really just be this guy, become a go-to guy in moments for them. So I'm very happy for him, and that's my biggest surprise this year. Oladipo was up there for me too. He was probably, you mentioned him before. I didn't understand him getting bounced around the league the last year and a half. I always thought he was a decent player, but he's proven everybody wrong that moved on from him. So good for him. And to piggyback off of surprising, to get through this list here, we're gonna go to a most disappointing player. I'll start off here because I'm a huge Chicago Bulls fan, and I hated to see him go and reunite with Tom Thibodeau, and I was super excited about the T-Wolves. They were almost my most disappointing team. Jimmy Butler, to me, has been a huge disappointment because he has been super inconsistent. Some nights he just comes out and can't even remember that he's on the court. So we're talking about a guy that was one of the top two-way players in the league up there with your Kawhis and your Paul Georges, and now I don't know what's going on. So for me, it's Jimmy Butler. Josh, who do you got?
It's funny. Again, I'm staying on the same team. Big Andrew Wiggins guy. I know he's still 22, and he started out the year playing really well. Like I was really excited with him. But recently, I haven't seen him. He's been so inconsistent. Just not shooting well. It's just not what I wanted to see from him. I wanted him to take that next step. Now with people not covering him as tightly on Jimmy, he hasn't for me. So he's been definitely my most disappointing because I'm so big on him.
Yeah, and Jason, what are your thoughts? Who's your most disappointing guy so far this year?
Oh, sorry, I was muted. I really thought that. Oh, I just lost the stat here. Hold on a second.
You must be really disappointed in him.
Yeah, I lost the crash. I don't know. I just lost him.
Okay.
My list. Sorry about that. No, I can come back to it.
Yeah, I mean, so while you're looking for that, let us know when you find that. But Wiggins and Butler both for sure disappointing, and that kind of led me to considering them for my most disappointing team, because that was a team. Actually, the Bucks and Wolves for me have a lot of similarities, and I thought this was a year that they would take a step and get and crack into that top 3 in their conference, and neither of them are doing it. And I think a lot of it has to do with both those players being disappointing so far.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say like it's kind of because they're both not used to playing with each other, and you could say it's early season rust. But again, like Wiggins started out just fine. It was right when Jimmy said he was going to start shooting more, and like I got nervous right there because I'm like, it seemed like they were winning before. Like they're still winning. Like it's so weird. Like they have 2 of our most disappointing players, and they're 15 and 11 in the West.
Sure, yeah, no, and they're a good team, and don't get me wrong, but I did expect more. And the disappointment comes from, because for me, I think, in Chicago, Jimmy Butler was one of my favorite players, and I expected him to really take another step forward out of the Hoiberg system and back with Tom Thibodeau, where he had some of his greatest success.
I will add something, and maybe not the most disappointing, but certainly a disappointment, I guess, total, is the fact that the first overall pick looked like a knockout of a pick, as far as just with his athleticism and, his ability that he was probably going to shoot well on a young team that looked great. And Fultz has the weirdest preseason I think I've ever seen in my life. He changes his shooting motion. They can't decide whether he's injured or not. They can't decide. He told them to change his shooting motion. And then in the meantime, almost every other rookie after him for the next 12 picks shows some sort of promise. Right. I would say, we're going to talk about the rookie class in a minute, but I mean, how many guys from this rookie class beat Malcolm Brogdon for Rookie of the Year last year?
Right.
7 of them. Brogdon would probably be on the level where you would have your De'Aaron Foxes and Ntilikina and guys who are going to improve in the second half of the year. But I mean, you have guys like Tatum and Dennis Smith, who's shown flashes, Donovan Mitchell, who you might hear about later. Guys who are getting a chance to really shine, and Markelle Fultz is just sitting there watching a pretty decent team. And I just think it's a real disappointment with the way that he could fit into that team.
Oh, absolutely. Imagine if they took Tatum, the way Tatum's playing right now, and the way you have Simmons playing and Embiid playing. I mean, that's a nice big 3, young big 3, but it's been part of the problem for the Sixers is consistently drafting well with all those top picks and putting something together. Now Okafor is gone today, so it's another top pick gone. Just a big waste of time for them. So, don't disagree there. So is that your most disappointing, or are you still pulling up your list?
We can move on from that.
All right.
I think I gave a good answer there.
That's a good enough answer for me. And actually, he was one of the guys I was considering, so I'm glad you brought that up.
I forgot about him completely. That's a very good
right. We'll get through these next ones here pretty quick here and wrap this show up for today. But let's talk about real quick Coach of the Year. For me, it's Brad Stevens. I think Brad Stevens is one of the best minds in all of basketball. I think he's going to be up there eventually someday with the Pops of the world, and he's done a great job. That team had some adversity here first quarter, first half of the year. Or first half of the first game of the year, and they've responded well. Brad Stevens, my Coach of the Year. Josh, who you got, man?
I'm going right with you with Brad Stevens. Just everything that guy does. That guy, the plays he writes up are incredible. His inbound plays, I don't know how people can't. I would just copy his plays if I was other coaches. They're insane.
They're scoring every time out of a timeout.
Just a little honorable mentions to a couple guys. D'Antoni, of course. Popovich has Spurs 16-8 without one of the best players in the league. Stan Van Gundy with this system that he's run, getting Drummond in a good spot, and Terry Stotts over in Portland just continually battling out there.
Yeah. Jason, what do you got? Coach of the Year.
Pop's the best coach in the league. Until he does a bad job, I'm probably going to give it to him every year. And certainly this year without Kawhi, where they've given LaMarcus Aldridge the offense after everybody basically writing him off last year. And now they're playing with half of Tony Parker and DeJounte Murray and those sort of guys, and still be near the top of the West is pretty impressive. And until he retires, he's probably going to be in my top 2 or 3 every year.
I don't disagree. He's one of the best coaches I've ever seen.
I also want to float out because they they were sort of cracking down on this resting guys on national TV or whatever. I think this Kawhi thing's just a long rest. I think he's getting that rest out early, and so he doesn't have to sit him out for games and get fined or whatever they're going to decide to do arbitrarily now this year. I think he's just like, you can take the first 40 games off Kawhi.
Yeah, who cares? They're going to be in the playoffs anyway. I hadn't thought of it that way. Honestly, Pop is the kind of guy to play a game like that with the league, and Kawhi would play right along.
We haven't heard one word about this injury.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be back like a week or two into the season, and what are we, 25 games in? Like that would make sense. That's a good thought.
Yeah, not a terrible thought at all. Something to definitely keep an eye on. Something that we've kind of talked about throughout these conversations of players and teams. Let's jump right into it. Rookie of the year. You just were up, Jason, but give us your rookie of the year.
Ben Simmons is the best rookie this year. He looks incredible, even if you're not exactly sure which hand is his good hand or which hand he should be shooting free throws with, which is amazing. Right. The fact that one's his dominant hand and one's the other one that he shoots free throws, that will never cease to amaze me. Jason Tatum, as long as he plays big minutes, I just checked it, he's shooting 51.9% from three, like playing 30-plus minutes for the best team in the league. Like, what year wouldn't that win Rookie of the Year?
Right.
So him and Ben Simmons are going to go at it. And then my third guy is Donovan Mitchell. I mentioned him earlier. I watched his last two games. He's a lot more of a complete offensive player and shooter than I thought he was going to be coming in out of Louisville. And they're going to let him gun because they don't have the type – they have your Rodney Hoods and, guys like that in the backcourt who you like taking spot shots and whatever. But he will gun, and this award – has been known for guys who average 23 points a game for okay teams. So if anything happens to those other two guys or he puts up some sort of crazy numbers, he would be the third guy I would be thinking about. Yeah.
Josh, what do you got? Rookie of the year.
For me, it's not much of a conversation who's been the rookie of the year. It's Ben Simmons. Just I'm amazed by this guy. Like I knew he had like LeBron play type potential, but he's taken it to another level. And of course, I Tatum deserves like a shout out. Kuzma for sure I knew he'd be good, but not like this good. Like he's second for rookies in scoring and fifth in rebounding for rookies. So he's been all over and Tatum, of course, and I'll give your boy Lauri Markkanen a shout out. He's been impressive. I didn't expect it from him. So
he won't win it because Chicago's just so bad this year, but that's the one small little bright spot that we have is he's just banging threes and playing well, and so we're happy about that for Chicago. So I appreciate the shout out there. My rookie of the year, I'm going to go a little bit different than you guys. I do think right now Ben Simmons is definitely playing, what people maybe wanted to see out of him, with the pick and what he showed you flashes of in college. But I'm going with Tatum. I think Tatum is a big surprise, and I think he's on a really good team and stepping up into a big time role. His 3-point shooting is huge in a shooting league. I need Simmons to develop that side of his game a little bit, the jump shot, get that going. I mean, he obviously can take anybody off the ball. He's making assists, he plays defense. But to me right now, even though he's putting up big statistics, I don't feel like he's a complete player until he can, develop that jump shot. And once we get a few games into the season a little bit deeper and there's more tape on this guy, you're going to be able to take some things away if he can't shoot the jumper. It happened to LeBron from time to time, even though LeBron dominated. Until LeBron started to develop a jumper, teams were just backing off of him and letting him go. And, that's my worry with Simmons. So Tatum right now gets it for me because, he's got a nice complete offensive game so far that I didn't really expect. So I'm going Tatum by a nose hair, not by much, by just a tiny little nose hair. Which leads us to the last category. One of my favorite awards that goes out every year because I just think it's fantastic. Most Improved Player. I'll start with this one. A lot of stuff's coming up green for me tonight when I was going through my list. A lot of Celtics ended up here. They're just, they're playing great basketball. So I'm going Most Improved Player is Jaylen Brown. I didn't like the pick. When Danny Ainge made it, I was like, dude, this is a huge reach. This guy's not going to turn out to be that good. The guy's awesome. He's a ton of fun to watch. And they might have their wings of the future in Tatum and Brown and the way that he's developed. So that's for me. Jaylen Brown, to me, right so far this season, is my most improved player. Josh, who you got, man?
I'll give a shout out to Jaylen Brown and Victor Oladipo. Both those guys have been just crazy good. They've improved to a whole new level. But I gotta go with my boy Kristaps. I always love Kristaps. Obviously, as a Knicks fan, but I'm super hard on Kristaps too. Like I expect like a lot out of him, and he just this like recent like Mamba mentality has awesome. I always thought like he's gonna be like a good second guy. Like I didn't think he'd ever be able to take over games, and he just dominates games now. The Knicks are 12-12 for one reason. It's him. Like when he doesn't play, it's a mess.
He's a ton of fun to watch. Yeah, you guys are lucky to have him as the future. I wanted Kyrie to team up with him. That would have been
yes, that would have been fun.
Ton of fun. Jason, what do you got, man? Most improved player.
I don't know how much this is going to play out for the rest of the year, if this is going to continue, but Aaron Gordon's been a lot better than I thought he was going to be. And you weren't really sure what position he was going to play because he's sort of like a shorter 4 or 3 that can't shoot or really athletic either position. He's shooting 40.6 from 3-point this year. He's shooting almost 50% from the field, 18.7 points per game. The team started off really well. They've faded because they're just frankly not very good. And still averaging 8.3 rebounds a game. Just looks like a different player, and I don't know. Sometimes it's getting in shape. Sometimes it's shooting, shooting a lot. And I think he realized that to make it in this league where everybody's going down a position or going up a position, depending on the matchups, you have to be versatile. And to be able to hit threes from the 3 or 4 positions is going to be really important for him. So I don't expect him to hit 40.6. I think it's going to go into the high 30s, but even then, he's a lot more of a useful player than I thought he was going to be, because I thought he was just going to be one of those guys like, I don't know, Tyreek Evans or something, where it's just like, this guy's really talented, but I don't know what to do with him.
Sure. Yeah, I think Gordon could be we're not going to talk about the award today, but I think he could be a 6th man of the year for sure. Definitely a big surprise. And if that team, that Rockets team, really nice regular season team, but can they take that next step into the playoffs? And he's going to be a big part of it.
I was going to Aaron Gordon, sorry.
Oh, Aaron Gordon, sorry.
Aaron Gordon, sorry. They have very similar names.
That's my fault. Yeah, actually, Aaron Gordon is a guy that I've been super down on. I thought he was just a poor man's Blake Griffin.
Yeah.
For years. And I've said that. I was like, dude, this guy's just athletic. He's nothing. But that's another team that I had as a surprising team, although they've kind of hit some walls, is the Magic. And that's a lot because of what Aaron Gordon's been able to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So to wrap it up here, we'll get out of this. Do you guys have any final thoughts on the first month and a half? We kind of touched a lot of what's going on in the league. Do you guys have anything else you want to add in? We'll start with you, Josh. Anything else?
It's been a lot of fun, like I thought it was going to be. Like the Knicks, I'm just glad I get to watch Knicks teams and not hate myself. So that's been awesome. The Rockets, at first I was like, if anybody honestly picks something other than Cavs, Warriors for the finals, like that just seems like a reaching for me. But I don't know, man. I think this team could shoot with Golden State, and they now they play defense, because that was my problem. I was like, they could shoot with them. With Golden State plays such good defense, but if they're playing good D, they could go right with them. So that's definitely my biggest takeaway so far.
Yep. Jason, what do you got, man? Any other takeaways outside of what we talked about?
Yeah, I hope that the East stays a little bit competitive, and even though none of them have usurped Cleveland when they were fading, I think we have the same amount of teams with winning records in both conferences right now, an even distribution between so-called good and bad teams. But that distribution is assuming that Indiana is a good team, that Detroit's a good team, and we don't really know that yet. So I hope those teams keep playing well, because I think it makes a lot more fun with more competition. And right now, even though I think there's basically 4, maybe 5 teams, if you include the Spurs, that can win the championship, a more competitive night-to-night league is definitely more entertaining, where there's really, the Kings, Suns, Bulls, really the only teams in the league, the Hawks, that you don't want to watch this year.
So. Oh, come on.
I had to say that about the Knicks for the last 4 years. So.
Yeah.
You throw the Mavs in there too.
The Mavs are probably the worst, actually.
Dirk looks like he's in pain when he runs around on the court.
Yeah. My thoughts, just overall, NBA, I think it's been a great first start to the year. A lot of entertaining games. Even some of the teams that aren't good still have players to get excited about, watch, be entertained by. Touch off kind of stuff you guys were saying. Jason just said it a little bit. I think, going forward, people should keep an eye on the Spurs because as long as they have Popovich there and when they get Kawhi back, Rudy Gay's a nice fit. So I've enjoyed watching them and watching them kind of grow into a different team than we've seen the past few years. But don't sleep on the Spurs yet. A lot of people are talking who's going to be in the championship, and Spurs are going to really hit their stride in the spring. You'll see it.
Always got to talk about them.
Yeah, they'll be right there. Going into this weekend, guys, any games that you're like super excited about? I got the Spurs Celtics as a game I'm dying to watch. I think that's going to be a coaching chess match between Pop and Stevens, which that stuff gets my blood boiling. That's a 9:30 game on Friday, ESPN. That's really it, though. I looked through. There's definitely some exciting players that are going to be playing, but no like matchups that I was like, I got to sit down and watch this game. What do you guys see this weekend?
I have one picked out because me thinking as a pessimist, I have an office work party from 6 to 11 o'clock on Saturday night, and I said, I bet the game I want to watch this weekend is smack dab in the middle. 8 o'clock on Saturday night is Joel Embiid and the 76ers at the Cube versus the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun one. You think Embiid will be able to piss LeBron off?
I don't think LeBron will let him. I think LeBron's pretty good at I don't know if he talks first, but he talks back. I don't know if you guys saw the video today of him.
Right.
Talking to the guy that was talking trash to him and wouldn't want to talk to LeBron.
Didn't go well for him. Josh, what do you got, man? Any games this weekend you're looking forward to?
As I was telling you before we went on, the Sixers schedule up until like next time we'll talk on Thursday. They got the Lakers tonight right after we get out of here. We get to go watch that. Then you got the Sixers Cavs Saturday, Sixers T-Wolves. Just all those matchups are just so fun to me. Those are like a bunch of young teams, good teams going at it. Like they're already fun as it is, and then with those matchups.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I was looking at them, and for sure I'll watch them. They're fun to watch. But Celtics Spurs was mine.
There's also a really fun game on Saturday between the Knicks and the Bulls. So. I just had to mention that as that is the full representation of this podcast.
That is
obviously
there we go.
Nobody was that excited about it.
That could be that could definitely be an under 100-point game for both teams. That might get pretty bad there. And we won't be able to watch it on League Pass, unfortunately. So,
well, yeah.
Well, with that said, guys,
we'll get on the TV.
Yeah, right. We'll go ahead and wrap up this podcast. I think we got a good podcast out of it. Thanks for joining me for our first one. Josh, if you want to go ahead and let people know where they can find you, give us your Twitter handle. Let us know where we can find you and talk a little bit more basketball.
From time to time, I'll be on the Teed Up podcast, giving my thoughts wherever, responding to people. If anyone wants to tweet there. People want to follow me at Joshy_J. Just simple as that. I have a lot of really funny basketball stuff, as I said. Allowed to do that, and I just have a funny Twitter.
Yeah, awesome. And Jason, where can we find you, man?
I'm at Jason Tutha, like Kanye Tutha, but with my name instead of Kanye's.
I like that.
You'll see some Knicks stuff, and unfortunately, probably me complaining about the Bills for the next 2 weeks before I give up.
Oh, come on, man.
Sadness.
The tickets for the Colts game are $4 this weekend. Nobody.
Yeah,
got tickets 4 rows up for $20.
Yeah, I feel bad to the guy I sold mine for $60 a month ago, but you win some, you lose some, man. And you can find me, my personal Twitter account, Aaron Quinn 716. You'll see a lot of Bill stuff on there, as you can see behind me. I do Locked On Bills podcasts. We do all the post games. We do a couple episodes a week there with my buddy Kevin Massayer. So if you want to get Bills NFL talk, get over there. If you want to talk to me about the NBA, mostly on the at TD_UP_ podcast. Also on Instagram, Teed Up Podcast over there. You can listen to us. We're on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher. Just look up Teed Up Podcast to find us. You can always watch us here on YouTube. From time to time, we'll pop on Periscope, breaking news, anything happening, we'll pop on Periscope and watch us. So follow us on all your social medias. You can go over to Facebook, follow us there. It's really just going to be the Twitter feed that pops up over there. But, get at us, talk to us. These guys are going to be popping on the Teed Up Podcast Twitter handle too. So, the interaction is what we're looking for. Stay focused on our Twitter feed because we'll let you know when we're going live. When we go live, you can follow us on YouTube, interact in the chat box. We'll take your questions at the end. We haven't had anybody tonight, but that's all right. Come on in. We'll have some questions back and forth. All of us guys can discuss it. We're just some regular dudes looking to talk basketball because, I don't know about you guys, but there isn't a lot of basketball fans out here in Buffalo to talk to. So I'm glad you guys came on to talk with me.
We are the three.
Yeah.
I have a small group of friends that we can talk a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Outside of that, you don't get too much.
Yeah, so that's why I started this. So come on in. Let's get the conversation going about the NBA. Before I leave real quick, people that watch us on YouTube won't get to hear, but the opening intro music is by a good friend of mine, Cody Chapman. He goes by the name Chapmatic. He's a great producer. He's won awards multiple times with different rappers on albums, and he allowed me to use some of his music for the opening. So if you're listening to the podcast and you like that beat, go check him out. It's chapmatic.bandcamp.com. He's got a ton of great beats. If you like Ninth Wonder, Jay Dilla, those types of guys, go check it out. Real good guy doing real good music. So we appreciate it. And guys, we'll catch you next week. Hopefully there'll be a lot of action to talk about. And hopefully you guys are going to join me. You're going to come back next week?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm planning on it.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. And thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next week.